Hi, come on in. I'm Ravenstar, and this is Cheeps the Gaming Bird. Now, I bet you're here because you heard we're doing an Intellivision collecting video. And that's exactly what we're doing. I have all my consoles out today, also some accessories, and then we're going to go over what the cartridges look like. Okay, well, why don't we start off with the original console right here. When people say Intellivision, this is what you think of. This is the first one that came out in 1979 by Mattel Electronics. Intelligent television. Reset on and off button. See, it's a very nice looking, very retro console with wood grain. Looks like it would blend right into the 70s furniture pretty well. Now, I didn't have an Intellivision growing up. I was an Atari girl. And there's quite a bit of differences. I mean, the Intellivision had pretty much better graphics for the most part compared to the Atari. But the Atari was already so far ahead that it just couldn't catch up. But still, they sold quite a few units. It sold for about $299 back then in '79. So it's pretty expensive. Now, it's really well known for their interesting controller. See, we're used to the old Atari controller joystick with their one button and stick there. Well, they had a disc, pretty different. See, move your character around actually in 16 different ways. And also, it kind of looks a lot like a phone, doesn't it? It's got like number keys there, and even buttons on the sides. And this area in the front is, you're able to slide in these overlays. There's overlays that you put in, and it'll tell you the controls for a specific game that you're playing. So most games came with overlays for the specific game, so you could see how to move your character around, you know, all the different controls. Now, the thing about these, this original one, the controllers are hardwired in. So if you break your controller, that's a shame, because you'll probably just have to go get your whole system repaired. You can't just buy another controller because they're hardwired in. That's a shame. Now, other companies also wanted to get in on it, and they distributed. A lot of different companies were distributors for it. So here's a Sylvania one. Now, it looks really similar. It's a GTE Sylvania. Looks really close, doesn't it, to being the other one, except for, you know, it still has the wood grain in the front. This front part here is actually silver instead of the gold that's on this one. Also, there's a black area in the front that's different. Got reset on and off switches there. And also, the controllers are hardwired in. You can't remove them. Okay, so that's the Sylvania one. But Sears also was a distributor. Here is a gorgeous Intellivision. I think this is my favorite one. It's so pretty. It's got the cream colors there. It's a Super Pro arcade. Super Video arcade, Super Video arcade. Also, it says Telegames on the front. Sears are known for Telegames, even in the Atari. And this one has beautiful round buttons in the front, reset on off. Nice cream colored controllers, but Sears did it right. Look, these are removable. You can remove these. It's great. So if you break your controller, you just buy another one. Fantastic. So I think that's my favorite one. Okay, so if Sears wanted to be a distributor, then so did RadioShack. Here's a RadioShack one. RadioShack Intellivision I. Now that's a cool one, isn't it? It's very Wood grain. You look at all the wood grain on that. Crazy. So much wood grain. Pretty much the same basic shape as the first one. Reset on and off. Unfortunately, the controllers are hardwired as well. That's a shame. Now, I do have the box for this. See, Intellivision I. It's a very nice box. Also, I have the manual as well, the owner's manual. That's good. It's the only one I have a box for, unfortunately. All the others are loose. Okay, well, now this next one is really strange. I think this one might be Frankenstein together a bit. This is a Super Pro system. Now, all the ones that I've seen online are black. See, the controllers are black. But all the ones online, this is all black. I know it's hard to see, but this is actually brown right here. But it's supposed to be black. And mine has wood grain. Again, supposed to be black. So I'm wondering if maybe the shell broke and somebody fixed it and put it in a brown shell. Or maybe it was made like this in the factory. You know, this using up the parts that were available at the time. So underneath, strange here, it says INTV System 3. Now INTV Corp, they bought Intellivision after the crash, the video game crash of 1983. So if anybody knows if this is correct, is the Super Pro system supposed to be an INTV System 3 or not? I don't know. I can't find info about it. So that's what mine looks like. I don't know if what's... oh, also there's supposed to be apparently a light here, a power light, and it's not there. So I don't know what is up with this one. So it's probably an INTV System 3 with different parts. It's very strange. So here is an INTV. See, it's all black. This is the System 3. Remember I said the INTV Corp, they bought Intellivision after the crash. They wanted to save it. They thought there was still money to be made with Intellivision games. So they made their, they just put their brand on it instead. See, this one has the power light, reset on and off, the black controllers, just like that one over there. Unfortunately, hardwired though. Now, this is the Intellivision II over here. It was made 1982. Now you would think, being an Intellivision II, that it would be an upgrade, right? Well, it's not really. It's just a cheapened down version so that they can sell more of them. It's smaller, it's more modern looking. It's pretty nice, really. Also, though, here are the controllers. Look at pretty much exactly the same. Same disc and everything. But they are removable. So that's fantastic. That's good news there for that. Now, over here, this is a system changer. So that's a cartridge slot. See, that's where did I mention, that's where you put the games in, the cartridge slot on the side. Well, that's also where you can put your accessories too. So this goes right in here and you snap it in. And this plays Atari 2600 games. Now, how did they get away with that? That's crazy, huh? So you could play that giant Atari 2600 library and your Intellivision games too. Now, unfortunately, I hear a lot of, well, not a lot, but there are a few Intellivision games that won't work on the Intellivision II. I've heard people say that either they don't work at all or they're glitchy. So you could probably do more research on that, find out which ones don't really work well. Okay, well that's pretty much all of the consoles variations that I have. I know there's one other one called a Tudor Vision, very rare. We'll never find that one. That was made by INTV. Now this over here, this is interesting. This is a computer module for the Intellivision. So Mattel kind of got into a little bit of trouble because when they first took out their system, their console, the box of the console advertised that they were going to come out with a computer accessory for the Intellivision, but it never happened, and there was a lawsuit, I believe, that and they started getting fined. They said, well, you have to come up with one, you have to make a computer module for it, or you're going to get fined every, I don't know, every month or every year or whatever, until you have one come out. So this one was made very quickly just to get out into the public so that they won't get fined anymore. So it's a keyboard and a little, I haven't really played with it. I don't know if it's any good or not, but it's just something that they threw out there very quickly so they wouldn't have to pay the fines. Next to it is the IntelliVoice. These are quite common. You can see these in a lot of the retro stores. It's a little synthesizer that does voices for the games. So you would just plug this into the side. And now some games, I think there's only like 4, maybe one more that use it. There's only a few. It makes the games talk pretty much, so it's very interesting. Some of the paperwork, the manuals. Alright, well, let's have a look at one of those IntelliVoice games I have. How do you know, when if it's an IntelliVoice game? Well, here's one right here. B-17 Bomber. It says IntelliVoice, voice synthesis cartridge. It talks. See, they're kind of this cream color box. So those are pretty easy to identify. Yeah, there's about 4 of these, 4 different ones. I think I have two of them. And the carts look like this. They're kind of gold. Now look at that. Nowhere on here does it say Intellivision. That's the problem. So many people will go into a retro store and just see these carts sitting here like this. And a lot of them aren't labeled. And look at this one. Here's another one. How do you know that's Intellivision? What is it? Atari? Is it Intellivision? So people get confused all the time. You'll often see these with the Atari, and they're not labeled, right? So, great way to tell is their shape, but that can be hard too. But here's your typical Atari cartridge. They often say Atari on them. Sometimes they see Telegames or whatever as well. But it's very rectangular, like that. Where Intellivision games, they're smaller, see? They're smaller, and they often have this slanted area here. Not always, because here's a Coleco one. That's not slanted at all, but it's skinnier, because I guess the cartridge slot is skinnier than the Atari. So that's one way to tell. And this one says on it. So Coleco's right, it's right on it that it's for the Intellivision. That's very good. Magic Games, they say it on it as well. Magic Games are great. They have fantastic labels. They're usually very fun. They have these silver boxes like this. Now you have to be careful with those because they slide out the bottom. You know, if it's a used game and you pick it up off the shelf, the tray just slides right out and then it goes everywhere. So you have to be super careful. Great manuals they have. The tray that slides out the bottom, as I said. In here are the overlays. Most games came with 2 overlays that you would put. I won't take that out. Here we go. We have one. These overlays. See that they slide right into they go right under here. I don't want to mess it up, but it goes under there. Pretty cool. Helps you identify how to play the games. Okay, well, again, we were talking about the cartridge shapes. This is an Atari, but of course not all of them look like this. There's some crazy looking ones. There's some with handles, you know, like blue. They look blue, they're crazy, all different colors because so many different companies made for the Atari. A lot of them made games for Intellivision II, but not quite as many. Now, what about this one? Is this one Atari or is it Intellivision? It doesn't say. It doesn't say anywhere on it. It's kind of skinny, isn't it? But it's got this bit on the end here. So that's how you tell these Intellivision from Atari. These kinds have this big square on the end. See? It's like extra. So that is the Atari one, and this one is Intellivision. So if you have one of these skinny ones with this fat part on the end, that's Atari, not Intellivision. And the stores get this confused all the time. So that's Atari. Alright, so that's what they look like. Now remember when we talked about INTV, this system here, you know, when they bought Intellivision, this is what those cartridges look like. They made their own cartridges, and they had kind of these white labels. See, yeah, most of the, this is what your typical Intellivision cart looks like. Usually had some color on the front. This is actually the packing game for the master component. It's called the master component. This is what came with the very first Intellivision. This was in the box. But they usually had some color. So when INTV bought, they cheapened it down. They had like white labels. And there's no other label at all on it. It doesn't say anything but the name of the game. So pretty unusual that companies would do that. Okay, well, what about the boxes? When you say Intellivision boxes, that's what they typically look like. They can be pretty much lots of different colors, but a lot of them were either blue, green, or red. And this is your typical writing. They look like that on the side. Now, did you know, though, when you're collecting for these, you've got to watch out because you might think you have it. Oh, I got 2 of these. Well, no, they're different. This is called tall box and short box. They are slightly different, and the art can be different too. So the tall box, these are the first kind, the older ones. Old boxes kind of open like this. See, they open like a book, and they have their instructions. See, back then they had nice little bit of color on the instructions. They had their 2 overlays off here in this little pocket, and then they often had this this white tray to hold your game. See, and the games usually had a fairly nice label in the front. And then, as time went by, they got a little cheaper, and they made the short boxes. Okay, short boxes don't open like this. They open from the top, you know, just like an Atari box or something else, and you just dump out the game. And you know, they would have they still would have an instruction booklet, but half the time they would end up being black and white, and of course their overlays. So they cheapened down a little bit. Smaller box. It doesn't flap open anymore. Some of them even stopped putting that nice white case in there too. Stop doing that. Save money. Now also you can collect versions of the same game, but they are telegames. So this is what a telegames box looks like. Remember the telegame system over there, the Sears? Well, they made their own box art and everything too. Now it's the same game inside as the Intellivision skiing, but it's just a different cartridge, you know, a different box variation. It's kind of like a kind of maroon color, dark red. So, and then you have all different ones. I mean, the later it got, the better the box art became for some. This is one of my favorite games, Hover Force. See, it didn't stick with this old-fashioned art. They went with more. What you flapping about? Yeah, we'll get some to eat in a bit. So it's a nice helicopter game. It's one of my favorites. Now, also what we have playing up here, that is my favorite game, Thunder Castle for the Intellivision. I was able to beat it. It's pretty hard. It actually took me many tries to beat that game, but that is my favorite. It's very good graphics. Oh, down here, that Intellivision came with a really nice set of paperwork. Of course, some catalogs. These catalogs are pretty much just as nice as the Atari ones I used to go through when I was a kid. Nice color. I used to just sit and read them over and over about looking at all the games that I wanted to get. But yeah, these came with one of the systems that I bought. Some kind of order form for the Intellivision. Very old papers. I'll get that expires on 94. This is a price list. A price list from 93. Wow, so these were going for quite a while. You know, they were still selling Intellivision games in 93 by mail order. So that's pretty cool. Another page that came with some of the systems. Repair policy. That's the INTV Systems 3 manual. Alright, well, got a lot of consoles here. But what about you guys that don't have any Intellivision, or you kind of want to start getting into it, but it's pretty expensive for such an old console that you probably won't play a lot of. But what if you want to play the games? Well, there's other ways to do that. Of course, you know how to emulate on a Raspberry Pi or something like that. You can also do what I'm doing here and just set up a Intellivision flashback. I mean, it's not the best thing, but it's good to play around for a little bit. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but it's fun. It's still fun. You just plug and play. It has a lot of games on it. I think it works pretty well. Or you can also buy these Intellivision Lives old games. This one's from Xbox, but I think they came out on the PS2. I think there's a DS version as well. You might be able to play this on the Xbox One. It might be a backwards compatible one, but I'm not sure. But it's a great way to test some of these old games out if you're not familiar with them. I mean, you can also watch videos on YouTube of gameplay if you're interested in seeing what they look like. But yeah, that's my collection. Oh, Cheeps. He's getting all flappy. I think he's done for the day. That's alright. Oh, my the rest of my games are up here in this corner. Most of them are in the box. So I'll be working on that collection as well. There was over 100 games for the system. Alright, well, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, anything I missed, did I say something wrong maybe? If I did, just write down in the comments, or if you have any questions, let me know. But thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day.